Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. I figured this is the right time to interrupt your regularly scheduled programming and do a get to know me video. But instead of doing basically setting up a dating profile, we're gonna do a get to know me through a journey of books, okay? Because this is a booktube, this is a book channel. So we're gonna stay grounded in Black authored books. And honestly, even if this wasn't a booktube, I still think the best way to get to know somebody is through what they read and what has lasted with them the longest. Really look at what they annotate, what they rewatch, or even the things that they won't shut up about. Maybe luckily or unluckily for you, we're gonna get to know me through books that shaped, reshaped, transformed, use whatever word you want to use, but we're gonna talk about the books that I think make or perfectly explain who I am today. And while I'm going through this, I'm gonna ask you some questions too, so we could get to know each other. Because sometimes I really do feel like I'm just here talking to myself, and I want to talk to you, chat. Chat, talk to me. All right, I'm fighting a losing battle with this sun, y'all. So let's try to get through this as quickly as we can. Let's start with a read that taught me how to love social commentary, and then I deeply love social commentary. I think The Colored Museum was my first real experience with reading something that was just damn smart commentary. Like, you have to have a certain level of genius to break apart society and really hold up a true mirror in a way that lets people in on the secret without making them feel excluded, right? There's some plays, books, whatever, sometimes any format of media that we engage with that almost feels too smart for its own good, or is crafted in a way that's meant to only be introduced and enjoyed and even talked about by certain classes or categories of people. And for me, The Colored Museum just breaks down all those walls and says, hey, let's just all collectively look at what's going wrong. What's going on, but what's going wrong, you understand? It was sharp, witty, and layered, and then really just written in a way that is not meant to exclude you as the reader. It definitely didn't exclude me. It made me feel wrapped up and very much included in the conversation, and actually pointed out a whole bunch of points that I actually need to pay attention to and analyze deeply. And the points that maybe I was skipping out on, they pulled it apart and put it up on display so that I can actually take a moment to just look at it. The Colored Museum really made me fall in love with analyzing plays specifically, and later led to my love and appreciation for plays like The Glass Menagerie, Death of a Salesman, and Rent the musical, which we'll get into later in this video because we're talking about the books that shaped me, right? There's truly something so special about written works that hold up a mirror and really just be like, can we be serious for a second? Like, if you're gonna be anything, be fucking for real. So my question for you is, what's the first book or written work that made you feel included in the conversation, or even that there was a conversation to be had? This section, we're going to talk about an author that I just won't shut up about. Actually, I don't know if I can shut up about them. I don't think I have a favorite author. I just really appreciate great writing. There are some authors that are auto reads for me, and some authors that I've really just learned to trust blindly, right? So those for me feel like authors that should be included when asked who my favorite author is. But for some reason, I feel like maybe like a parent, because you're not supposed to have a favorite child, and I will always default to I don't have a favorite author. But as I stepped back and looked at my physical library, books that I've purchased, most of the books I've purchased after reading them, right? Because most of us have a TBR problem, and I don't want that TBR problem to become a financial problem. And I hate buying books only to read them and realize that I hate them, or just didn't. The book wasn't for me. Hate is a strong word. But some books I do hate. An author that I won't shut up about is Akwaeke Emezi. They have to be one of, if not my actual favorite author. I haven't met a single project of theirs that I either disliked or made me feel like, it's okay. Very uncommon for me. But there's nothing in their catalog that I've either haven't read or that I haven't loved. Which means everything that they've penned that has been published, I have read and adored. Something about their writing feels so intentional and sacred that it almost feels like peace while holding up that mirror that we talked about for the Colored Museum. Again, social commentary, up my alley. But it holds it up in a gentle way, right? So even if you think about Death of 𝕃𝕗𝕥'𝕤, what is that talking about? Trans-identifying person who is misunderstood, whether that was on purpose or accidentally, right? And what does love look like? How do we define love? And how do we shame people for it? Then you have Pet and Bitter, which looks at a world of monsters. And it might seem very childish and very fictional, but when you realize that you live in a society and in a world where monsters are literally everywhere, including in the White House, is that gonna get me banned? Who's YouTube affiliated with? Are they gonna mute this video? Anyways, you understand what I'm saying. So I just like the idea of exploring and looking at monsters in a very real and tangible way, but they also made it accessible. So I first read Bitter. I read Pet first. I lied. I read Pet and then I read Bitter because you're not going to tell me a companion novel was released and I had already loved Pet. So now you're going to introduce a story about Pet's mother. I was locked in and I wasn't disappointed. So if you have not read any of Akwaeke Emezi's catalog, I highly recommend starting with Pet and Bitter because those are two books that really taught me how intentional crafting can really make a companion set worth it. I'm not really a series girl because sometimes I feel like maybe you didn't need a series. This didn't need to be a series. You should just all put it in one book. And other times I just feel like maybe the idea was more ambitious than you were able to handle. But this is something that I'm like, you know what, actually, I would follow a full world built out around different characters, even if we're moving through like different time periods within this world. That's something I would absolutely sign on to and read. So now I want to know, who's an author that you trust completely? You'll read whatever they put out, no questions asked. You might not even read the description for real because they're a name whose household name for you at this point. In case you were wondering, e-begging is still in effect for this video. So if you're tuning in, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Go ahead, hit that button. And if you're on your TV, apparently all you gotta do is swipe up, click the button. You here watching me, come on, let's be friends. And answer those questions in the comments. Thank ya. So not Black authored, but let's talk about my happy place real quick. So things I rewatch and things I won't shut up about. This is top 5 and it's not number 5, okay? But I love the musical Rent. You could even argue that Rent is my emotional support art form. What can't be argued though is that it's probably literally 99% of my vocal outbursts. I mean, come on, Out Tonight, and then the riot scene with Maureen, and then Light My Candle, and then the reprise for, what's it called? Glory, One Heart, Glory, when he finally finished writing that song. And then, it's been out for so long, if you ain't seen it, and if you're not familiar with it, then this spoiler alert is your fault, not mine. And then, when Angel died, right, so while Angel's still living, we have I'll Cover You, and it's a great little bop. But then when Angel dies, the reprise of I'll Cover You, live in my house, I'll be your shelter, do 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 do. But there's literally nothing better than the reprises. Anyways, why is Rent so good? Or why do I keep returning to it? Aside from the fact that I low-key may or may not have chosen my college based on the fact that Jonathan Larson wrote and delivered Rent for the very first time at Adelphi University, I'm not saying that's how I picked my school because y'all might judge me, but the truth is I really only heard of Adelphi University because I knew the lore behind Rent and I was obsessed with Rent and still obsessed with Rent. So, but that musical really shaped how I think about chosen family, art, survival, or even the city that raised me. The fact that it's still so relevant today in terms of housing insecurity, healthcare or lack thereof, community care, or even gentrification tells you how much of a lived-in testimony is. And it makes me appreciate it even more. Every year I watch it, yes, everywhere around Christmas time, because it is a holiday movie if you ask me. But every year I rewatch it, it just makes me realize how much I appreciate stories that are about messy creatives especially, but messy people who are just out here trying to survive, because is that not most of us? So now my question for you, because you know I was coming for you. What's a story, whether it's a book, movie, musical, what's a story that feels most like home for you? However you want to define it. I want to know. Put it in the chat. Okay, we're back in a chair because we're on vacation and we're lounging, right? Something like that. So in this section, we're going to talk about a messy ass dystopian that I absolutely love, right? Messy, petty, however you want to frame it. So we've already established that I love some smart ass commentary, right? But what we haven't established is the fact that I love dystopians. Growing up, I guess high school is included in growing up, right? But growing up, I very much enjoyed reads like The Hunger Games or The Experiment, the Uglies series by Scott Westerfield. I'm trying to think, there were other dystopians that I read. There were definitely other dystopians that I read, but for now, those are the ones that stick out the most as a kid, right? I just love dystopians. I gravitate to them when it comes to movies, books. I guess I don't gravitate toward it in real life, which is why I'm presently trying to escape. But this particular book was the perfect intersection of those two things for me. So let's talk about Black No More. It's a more recent read for me, as in I read it within the last 2 years, but it was written and published during the Harlem Renaissance. In fact, there is a lot of name drop without name dropping commentary specifically on top leaders of the Harlem Renaissance and what our author maybe thought of them, or at least how he viewed them, which I love some petty drama. Anyways, it asks the question, what would happen if we solved America's race problem overnight? The basic premise of the novel is there's this black scientist that comes up with a way to basically demelanize skin and hair, and basically overnight you could become a white person, right? So there's this technology, it costs a certain amount of money, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's not free, so you have to have the means to pay for this. And so because we know what we know about society and how things are structured between races across the country, this taking place during the Harlem Renaissance, right? So you have to think about Jim Crow laws, whites only, coloreds only. That's what's happening right now. So in the midst of this I hate saying these were times when there were high racial tensions because we're still living in those times. But anyways, these were during the times where people are maybe more actively fighting for civil liberties. And in that, you have to, as a reader, empathize with the people who are opting into this procedure. You go in black, you come out, well, it doesn't happen right away, but you wake up at some point in time as a white person. Your skin is white, your nose is slimmer, your hair is blonde, your eyes are blue, you're the prime wasp walking through society. But anyways, let's go back. It asks the question of what would happen if America got rid of its race problem overnight. And everybody should read this book, but I don't think this is a spoiler alert. While we're reading the story, we learn that even if America solves its race problem, it's just going to find a new way to rebrand oppression and decide who it is that gets oppressed. The satire in this she's thin, but you're fine. She's thin, but she's dense. The satire in this thin little read is off the charts, and the ending is so deliciously satisfying that I just wish that on all of our enemies, you understand? Read it so you know what happened, because I don't want to tell you what happened in the end, but it was a good ending. Now, do it again. The ending of this one was probably a little chaotic, but definitely had the element of justice served on a hot platter. So now I'm wondering, how do you prefer your endings? Do you like them to have happy endings, just reach a positive resolution? Or do you live for more chaotic endings? Or even the poetic justice kind of endings, right? So it's like everybody's wrong, but I see how we got here. Let me know in the comments. Are y'all cool if we just film the rest of the video right here? Because it's just a lot of people. I don't know what these people are lining up for. Hold on, look. Everybody taking pictures with this photographer. I wonder if it's just spoke back to back. Anyway, we're getting off topic. But I'm just thinking it'd be cool if I stay right here. I'm trying to mix it up for y'all, but it's a lot going on. You need me to move? I've been naming each section, but I don't have a name for this section. This is just about a memoir. And I'm gonna let you know that I typically do not like memoirs unless there's someone, I don't know, I guess Will Smith's Obama's, Michelle Obama's, they were cool, but it's not like I didn't like it. It just wasn't for me. It's cool. I appreciate learning about people's lives, I do, but I would rather see that in a documentary. Something about memoirs just doesn't hit for me. I can't really explain it. No, I'm just making a video for YouTube, but I don't stream. And say hi. The one memoir that I did like is All Boys Are in Blue. This one just felt like a gentle reminder of how important it is to A, tell your story, and B, how your story can change other people, whether it's their lives, their way of thinking, whatever, what have you. Also, it's not your job to do that, but I appreciated the impact that it had on me as a reader. And then as the years go on, I continue to revisit it on sites like Goodreads and just read through the reviews, and it's been really wonderful to see how much of an impact it's had on the reading community at large. This one felt like a story of being unapologetically yourself without shrinking, and I think that even though it's in the banned book category because it's gay, it's a book or a memoir that everybody should absolutely add to their reading list if they haven't read it. So my question for you with this book is, what kind of vulnerability do you appreciate the most in the books? Is it a romantic kind, familial, identity based? Is this a propose? I'm so sorry, there's so much going on around me. When I tell you that there's a line for these bitches, should be our husband be in this line? We got one more book. And then please know that this video is in no particular order. It's just how my brain dumped it out. But our last book that we're going to talk about in terms of who I am and what shaped me is Romeo and Julio by Sharon M. Drapin. First of all, Shorty is the queen of YA middle grade reading because I've been reading her all my life. But this book introduced me to adaptation in a written form. It really helped me to truly understand and appreciate and reinterpretation of what we consider to be classic stories. And I don't want this to sound like too weird of a bit, but Romeo and Julio also helped me to appreciate the Lion King series a little bit more. Well, a little bit later on in my years after having Romeo and Julio in middle school. But further on down the line, I started really, and then very much when I got in the classroom, but I started really picking apart The Lion King and comparing it to the Shakespearean plays that they're based off of, right? So Lion King 1 we know is based off of Hamlet. Lion King 2 is based off of Romeo and Juliet. And then Lion King 1.5, the one with Timon and Pumbaa, is based off of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. When I tell you, it became my favorite unit to teach when I was in the classroom. Oh, Shakespeare. I know so many teachers or so many people, especially considering where I worked and the population that I worked with, there were so many teachers that I would collaborate with across the district that just didn't look forward to teaching Shakespeare because they deemed it as too hard and didn't want to put in the work to make it accessible for our children. But I realized I didn't even have to make it accessible for our children. I just needed to help them understand what I understood of, you already know the story. Now we just have to put it to the actual text, right? So tell me what you know about the Lion King. All right, so let's find who does Scar represent, who does Mufasa represent, who does Simba represent, what is this ghost? And then you know the story of Hamlet right there. Even the part with this, when Scar has the skull, Hamlet, it's literally the same bones, just in a different body. So my question for you for this section is, do you consider yourself a purist when it comes to stories? Or are you someone that loves a bold reinterpretation? Because I love a good reinterpretation, but make sure it's good. So if I had to summarize myself as a reader, I would definitely say that I am someone who loves bold social commentary that just looks the issue in the face. I love humor. I love intentional stories, prose, retellings, whatever. Just make it intentional, right? I'm someone who's specifically drawn to any kind of satire, any kind of dystopia, just like generally witty systemic critiques, right? Have y'all seen that movie, The Running Man? Well, the new one. Because I like the new one better than the old one with Arnold Schwarzenegger. But talk about a systemic critique. If you've made it this far, I don't know what to do on my hands anymore. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And if you made it this far and you're not a subscriber, go ahead and hit that subscribe button real quick and watch this video that YouTube either thinks you'll really like based on this video and you're interacting with it, or something you haven't watched yet from my catalog. And I plan on doing a vacation specific vlog while I'm here, like a bookish vacation vlog, so stay on the lookout for that. But other than that, that's all I have for you. Did you notice I got a new mic holder? I love it. I got it from Etsy. Anyways, that's all I have for you. I'll see you in the next video next week. Till then, toodaloo. I hope this was not too much of an interruption in our regularly scheduled programming, but we're on vacation and we're here to have a good time. So I'll talk to you soon. I love you lots, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.